There is no common sense. The so-called medium, as the name suggests, it's a group of people who often deal with evil entities, mainly engaged in exorcism, the business of soul summoning. Sometimes I also do odd jobs. For example, making a shadow object, cleaning, antiques, and the like. I somewhat understand, but not fully. He scratched his head in confusion. Say, so how did you meet my adoptive father? Talking about this issue, Master Huang's cheek twitched. I don't know what I'm thinking. The gaze flickered slightly. It quickly became complicated. Suddenly, he let out a long sigh and said, "To be honest with you, it's okay. I come from the same school as your adoptive father. In the 1950s, I went into the mountains with him to dispose of the body. The person who taught me skills taught me. Shanji Lao. He is a master of the mystical arts, a scholar with profound knowledge." Yuengsai recalled. Shanji is a reclusive master, not only skilled in riding, but also in shield and armor. He also has a profound mastery of astrology. He is mainly proficient in two crafts. One method is the art of Feng Shui in observing fish. It has already been sent to your adoptive father. Another way, it is a mediumistic method to communicate with spirits and deities, mainly passed down by me. Two senior brothers entered the sect one after the other, under the guidance of the same teacher, studied for 8 years. The relationship was good when we were young, but cannot escape the heart of worldly conflict. This later led to conflicts. Your adoptive father is skilled in Feng Shui. Always say that watching fish can help one understand the nation's fortune. You look down on my little medium skills. I think that's something from the lower class. I find your adoptive father to be narrow-minded. Fought with him for over 10 years. I always wanted to settle the score. At this point in the story, Master Huangzi paused suddenly. She sighed softly. In our youth, we were all quite reckless. Did quite a few things that involved karma. I just didn't expect it. The retribution for your adoptive father comes so swiftly. I suddenly realized I didn't expect Lord Huangzi and his adoptive father. There is also this layer of entanglement. It is clear that although the two seem to have a bad relationship on the surface, we can privately appreciate each other. Otherwise, the adoptive father wouldn't have said that before passing away, I entrusted myself to Lord Huangzi for care. Huangzi doesn't want to reminisce about the past. Quickly interrupted the conversation. First, stuff that coffin lid into the water tank. Find some boards to cover it. Clapped again. He said he would take me to a place. I am very confused. It's almost dark. Where are you taking me? He smiled darkly. No explanation needed. I gave a knock on my head and said, "You'll know soon enough." After speaking, he threw a cloth bag at me. It is filled with various talismans, copper oil lamp, and bean filling, and vermilion water, miscellaneous items like silver. Slowly, a large package. It's quite heavy. Master Huangzi wants me to carry the bag. Following behind oneself, I had no choice but to comply. After leaving the outskirts of the city, once again he turned into a rural path, walked for almost 2 hours. They finally arrived at a very remote village. I'm not very used to walking on this kind of mountain path, all the way with ups and downs. Several times I almost stumbled and fell. Yuengsai, however, felt it wasn't as good as flying, acting as if nothing happened, walking ahead with hands behind the back. I hurried and rushed. Why can't anyone catch up to him? Helpless, he could only shout, "Grandpa, wait for me. The sky has darkened. Why are you walking so fast? You walk slowly on your own." I've been hurt. That old man is looking at me with an unpleasant gaze. They probably think I'm holding them back. He rested his head on my shoulder. A drop slides down as I raise my hand. He actually started running while carrying me. I was completely stunned. Although I am not very strong, at least I weigh around 140 pounds. This old man looks very thin. You can actually lift me up easily. How strong is the power in your hands? Look at my terrifying appearance that could make your eyes pop out. Master Huang-Si ran while snorting coldly. It seems Chen Mazi never taught you how to have good luck. Got it. After completing this trial, I will pass on to you a set of methods for good luck, so you won't hold me back anymore. Under his pull, we quickly entered the village. In just a few minutes, they arrived at the old house at the end of the village. It's the middle of the night. I suspect the people in the house have definitely fallen asleep until Master Huang-Si knocked on the door and pushed me in. I just realized that the people inside weren't sleeping at all. There is an elderly couple in the courtyard. Gray hair and a worried expression. Jiang Ban squatted down to add paper money to the fire pit. I focus my gaze. They discovered a coffin parked behind the couple. The beam was draped with black and white fabric. In the middle of the living room stood a portrait of a young girl. I just realized. This family is likely preparing for a funeral. Strangely enough, the mourning hall is very desolate, except for the two prison gates. I can't see anyone coming to pay their respects. While I was lost in thought, Huang-Si has already approached the elderly couple. They were whispering about something. The male host's expression was very excited. I can't help but bow to Master Huang. But he was stopped by Huang-Si's hand. Tell him not to. Just leave the funeral hall to yourself. The old couple expressed their endless gratitude. With tears and snot, he got up and left. Soon, only Huang-Si and I remained in the mourning hall, guarding the empty mourning hall. To be honest, I'm a bit anxious inside. Hurry and gather around Lord Huang-Si. Grandfather, you brought me to someone else's funeral in the middle of the night. It is 4. Cut the nonsense. Help me move the coffin lid. Master Huang's expression was stern, pointing to the coffin behind him. I hesitated for a moment and didn't dare to move. He became impatient. Couldn't help but kick me on the butt. Are you going to do it or not? If you don't want to work, you can leave. All right. This old man's temper is particularly bad, like a stone squeezed in a dung pit. I don't dare to be tired of it. You have to push the coffin lid with a brave face. Open the coffin lid. A woman in her early 20s is lying below. Her features were exquisite, and her appearance was very charming. But for some reason, there was a circle of marks around the neck. The face is youthful yet has a purple hue. It's clear that this was an untimely death. I stared at the twisted, strange expression on the corpse's face. Suddenly, scared, my hands trembled. I almost fell flat on my backside. So scared that my mouth went dry. This woman is... It seems she was hanged. Nonsense. Such an obvious thing. I need you to tell me. Huang-Si shot me a glare. Let me not overreact. Then she personally lit a stick of yellow incense. I bowed in front of the coffin. I will follow suit. Also bowed in reverence. Only then did I wipe away the cold sweat. Whispered to Lord Huang-Si. What kind of medicine is actually being sold in the gourd? The old man didn't explain at all. But the lady in the coffin said, Go use scissors to cut his hair. It's best to be the kind that doesn't see light under the back of the head. I am afraid. The woman's death was so bizarre. At a glance, it's clearly a violent death. It's often said that a violent death brings heavy burdens. When you encounter the best, it's better to keep your distance. I avoid it as much as possible. Who would dare disturb the spirits of the deceased? Appear. Master Huang-Si showed a face of impatience. Continue speaking. Don't worry. You do it this way. Not only did it invite his jealousy. Instead, they would receive thanks from the deceased. I really can't figure out what he's up to. Upon seeing, Huang-Si has already squinted his eyes. If I don't act soon, I'm going to get beaten up. I can only muster the courage to take the scissors, gently leaning on the foot of the coffin, cutting his hair with trembling hands. The lady's body is especially cold, occasionally exuding a chill. I tremblingly completed all of this. A quick run brought me in front of Lord Huang-Si. Say, Grandpa, hair got caught in my hand. What should we do next? He asked me to seal the coffin again. Find another piece of red cloth. Roll up your hair. Follow me home. I really don't understand. I want to say, is this old man sick? You brought me to such a remote village in the middle of the night, but only to obtain a woman's lock of hair. It's really strange. Master Huang-Si noticed my confusion, still not saying a word. After returning, he asked me to go inside and sleep early. There's work to be done early tomorrow. I have no choice but to comply. By the next morning, it was not yet dawn when he burst into my room. A kick landed on my backside, saying, "Let's go. I'll take you to meet someone else." I have already gotten used to it. Not making a sound, silent as a stone, walking behind him. 1 hour later, we arrived at the entrance of a daily necessities supermarket in the urban-rural fringe. Huang-Si stopped at the entrance of the supermarket, pointed at a counter with someone having big yellow teeth, a middle-aged man with a lewd and greasy face. Go find a way to draw some blood from him. Collect this guy's blood again. I dreamed the whole thing. This is Yanning. Where do you get all this nonsense? After doing all of this, let me tell you the reason. Master Huang-Si stared at me, smiled with a particularly strange expression. Tonight, I will let you know. What do mediums rely on for their livelihood? Lord Huang-Si's eyes were filled with malice. It made my heart race with fear. Immediately realized, he wants me to do it. I'm afraid it's definitely not a good thing. But until now, there's no way to refuse it. I had no choice but to bite the bullet. Walking towards the entrance of the supermarket, the greasy-looking supermarket owner did not notice me, sitting inside the counter, smoking. I pretended to walk into the supermarket to buy something, walking back and forth on the shelf, but always with sidelong glances. Observe his every move. This guy is overweight. A fat person weighing definitely over 200 pounds. Covered in fat, it looks especially greasy. His features are sinister and fierce. At first glance, they seem difficult to deal with. We need to obtain his blood. I'm afraid it's not that easy. I rolled my eyes, glancing at a pair of scissors on the shelf. An idea suddenly struck me. I put down the scissors, deliberately tore open the packaging bag. I waved the scissors in my hand. Do not open the packaging. How would I know? Is your scissors usable? The fat boss's expression is very fierce. Now the packaging has all been opened by you. No matter if it's suitable or not. You must pay. I am pretending to have a carefree demeanor. Saying this thing is not easy to use. You should keep it and sell it to someone else. After I finished speaking, I threw the scissors onto the counter. Pretend to leave. Sure enough, the fat boss fell for it. Immediately chased over with scissors. Pulling my arm, they said, You're just looking for trouble, aren't you? Where do you buy things like that? No way. Unpackage this thing. It can't be sold anymore. No payment, no exit. I immediately started pushing him, while the guy forcefully shoved the scissors over. Pretend to slip accidentally on the back of his hand. Suddenly, a blood mark appeared on the back of the fat boss's hand. He let out a sigh, looking at the place on my hand where blood is seeping, instantly furious and jumping with rage. Grabbed my collar tightly. "I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that. I see you're looking for trouble." I didn't realize this guy was so irritable. A disagreement over a small matter. He raised his fist, ready to hit me. I quickly softened my stance. Raising his hand, he said, "Elder brother, it's just a pair of scissors, isn't it? Can I still buy it? Don't be angry. I'll give you the money right now." I quickly pulled out my wallet. Hurry and hand over the money. As a result, the chubby boss was still relentless. "Say, it's not about the scissors right now. You have already hurt me. Cannot leave without compensation for medical expenses." While talking, he showed me his wound. "Attached to you." I'm a bit speechless. Although I deliberately slid my hand across his knuckles just now, the wound isn't deep at all. 2 pieces of hemostatic patches are. He insisted on extorting 500 from me. If it were any other time, I would definitely argue my case. You can see the fierce expression of the chubby boss. Feeling guilty in my heart. Can only pretend to be helpless. Such a small wound. Just find a random window to deal with. Just for a moment. It won't cost 500 yuan at all. Make it cheaper. And I didn't mean to. After haggling. In the end, I lost 200 QI to him. Quickly grabbed the scissors. Want to leave. The fat boss called me again. "Wait a moment. The 200 yuan is compensation for my injury. Scissors 30. No bargaining." I find it a bit amusing yet frustrating. Reluctantly, I gave the money for the scissors to the other party. This is when I put on the scissors. Hastily left the supermarket. Master Huangxi is squatting at the street corner. While smoking, smilingly waiting for me, I threw the scissors stained with the fat boss's blood at him, constantly complaining, "Why do you want me to provoke such a person? The owner of that supermarket. At first glance, he's just a big troublemaker. Almost got me beaten up." Master Huangxi leisurely took a puff of his cigarette, glanced at it with the scissors in hand. "There are many ways to collect his blood. Who told you to do it in such a stupid way? All right. The items are already in hand. Come back with me now." After speaking, he turned around, walked ahead at a leisurely pace, returned to the courtyard. Master Huangxi asked me to go into the kitchen to cook some side dishes. I went unwillingly. I took a piece of yellow cloth. 3 plates were placed on top. Inside are several clumps of bloody and mangled animal entrails. Beside them was a pair of fragrant candles. There is also a small figure made of straw. The paper figure is wrapped in dense, tangled red gold thread. Outlined simple facial features with a red pen. This little straw man is so vividly alive. Both hands are crossed. Fixed in place by Huangxi with an iron nail. Nailed firmly to the offering table. Like a beastly form. It looks very strange. I was startled by something on the 8 Immortals table. Ask him what he is actually doing. Huangxi leisurely prepared for the ritual discussion. This is when they explained the reason to me. The girl yesterday was named Lai Fang, just turned 19 this year, because the family is too poor, unable to enter university. With the introduction of a fellow townsman, I went to work at a small supermarket in town, responsible for cashier duties. Lai Fang is very diligent at work. just want to earn money through hard work, helping parents with household expenses. Who knew they would encounter a boss with a face like the god of longevity? The supermarket owner saw that Lai Fang was young and beautiful. He actually had malicious thoughts about her. On a day when it was pouring rain, let Lai Feng go with me to the warehouse to check the goods, then took the chance to drug the drink, implemented surveillance on her. Lai Feng is very timid, growing up in the countryside, very conservative personality. Such a thing happened. Afraid of losing face, always afraid to grow outward, the supermarket owner became even more ruthless, took many fruit photos for her, forcing Lai Fang to be his lover. Otherwise, I'll spread all these photos everywhere. Lai Fang had to submit to the supermarket owner's tyranny. But as time went on, the supermarket owner is getting more and more outrageous. He even made many perverse demands. In the end, Lai Fang could no longer bear the psychological pressure. To quickly rid myself of this devil, on the way home I found a crooked old tree, ended his hasty life with a rope. Afterwards, her parents found the diary left by Lai Fang, understood the truth of the matter. But the background of that supermarket owner is quite complicated. Lai Fang's parents didn't dare to do anything to this beast. I was completely stunned after listening. Zhang opened his mouth and said, "The chubby boss of that supermarket in the morning. It was the evil person who drove Lai Fang to her death." Master Huang-Si nodded slightly. "This guy is the brother-in-law of a certain leader in the county. There is some power in the family. Ordinary people simply cannot compete with him. Even calling the police won't help us deal with him. The evidence of his insult towards Lai Fang has already been erased. Lai Fang also died suddenly on the way home. No one could find evidence that the fat boss forced Lai Fang to her death. Lai Fang died unjustly. Grudges are hard to eliminate. If we don't find a way to take revenge for him, there's no way to feel at ease reincarnating." Lord Huang paused. "Look at me and say, that's why his parents found me. I hope to lend a hand, help his daughter seek justice." I was taken aback. I hurriedly asked Huang-Si how he planned to help Lai Fang seek justice. He smiled darkly. A hint of shadowy expression appeared, shaking his head. "It's still early. I'll tell you when it gets dark. Speaking of Lord Huang-Si, let me bring out the freshly heated dishes." I took a couple of sips of the wine, entering the room to rest by themselves. I stood guard in the main hall, looking at the altar he had set up, waiting with a puzzled heart. Master Huang-Si didn't get out of bed until it was dark. First, I washed my face, put on a clean set of clothes. He walked to the front of the altar and lit the incense candles. This is when the lady's hair is taken out, rubbed together. It turned to ash on the candle. He placed the ashes in a dish. "Let me take out the previously captured burning fan." I hurriedly followed suit, carefully handing over the 7-inch venomous snake. Master Huang-Si didn't even glance. Snatched the burning fan. Ignoring his desperate struggles and twisted body, he flipped his right hand and pulled out a small black knife, nailed fiercely to the 7 inches of the burning fan. Feng Shan felt the pain, immediately exaggeratedly twisted the body, let out a hissing wail, wrapped the tail around Master Huang-Si's arm. Huang-Si's movements were incredibly swift. He slammed the burning fan heavily onto the offering table. The blade curved slightly, cut open the belly of the burning fan. Unexpectedly from the burning fan's belly, some translucent white eggs were taken out. I see clearly now. These white eggs should be the snake eggs of the burning fan. The mother snake is indeed pregnant. Huang-Si brought another plate. Dig out the snake eggs with fingers. Place them in the center of the plate. Once again, The head was fully exerted and scattered over the snake eggs. Then he took out the scissors stained with the fat boss's blood, scrape off the dried blood above. Together we cover the snake eggs. Afterwards he asked me to open a drawer. Take out a small bottle from the drawer. The bottle is filled with a lot of yellowish, murky liquid. The taste is particularly strange. Geomancer opened the bottle, dripped the yellow liquid onto the snake eggs. At the same time, some black powder was also sprinkled. I completely don't understand what he's doing. Couldn't help but ask softly, "Grandpa, what's in this bottle?" Master Geomancer gave me a faint glance. Oil used to assist in casting spells. I suddenly felt my face go pale, uncontrollably took 2 steps back. Trembling lips. What? He completely ignores me. Translating oil. Ashes of hair and blood. Pour it all into the plate. Using tools, they crushed them all, then ignited the oil in the plate. Soon the snake eggs caught fire. It exuded a pungent smell. It smells bad. It smells just like a crematorium after the flames have burned out. More black powder appeared in the plate. Master Geomancer picked up the small figure made of straw again. Throw him into the plate. Pour a bowl of black fresh blood. Hands crossed, chanting the incantation. He speaks very quickly. The sound of incantations echoed endlessly. As the spell is cast, the straw man suddenly began to move strangely. A hissing white smoke enveloped the entire body. The candlelight flickers, surrounded by the white smoke emanating from the scarecrow. The atmosphere became exceptionally eerie. Master Geomancer's face trembled under the flickering candlelight. Not knowing when, a wind suddenly arose at the Dharma platform. The fragrant ashes and candle flames keep dancing wildly. I feel cold in my body. Quickly wrap your coat tighter. I wonder if it's just a psychological effect. I actually heard a hissing snake sound in my ear, mixed with a girl's ethereal indifference. Cackling ghostly laughter. Fortunately, at this moment, Master Geomancer has stopped chanting the incantation. The eerie sound of the wind has also disappeared. I gazed at the altar. The scarecrow has been burned to a charred black. He walked up nervously to ask, "Grandpa, you just cursed the fat boss, didn't you?" Master Geomancer nodded slightly, strangely lifted the corners of his mouth. "That's right. I cast the snake fetus curse on him." I swallowed. What will happen to the fat boss after being cursed? Master Geomancer's smile became even more mysterious. "Ask me if I want to go see for myself. I feel uneasy." Feeling uncomfortable under his gaze, I immediately left the courtyard, walking back towards the supermarket in town. Just arrived near that street. I heard a piercing scream. The cries were mixed with endless pain, as if touching the soul. The supermarket is surprisingly still open in the middle of the night. Instead, a large crowd gathered around to watch the excitement. These are the onlookers. Everyone is far away. One by one, their faces turned pale, pointing and gesturing at the supermarket entrance. It seems like witnessing some bizarre and strange occurrences. I quickly squeezed through the crowd. I focused my gaze on the supermarket counter, instantly stunned. The chubby boss who looked fierce during the day. At this moment I am writhing in pain on the ground, clutching his stomach tightly, crying out for help in pain. The facial features were all twisted together. He was already overweight. Now the belly is even more prominently bulging, expand into a spherical shape. It seems like a pregnant woman carrying for 10 months. The belly slowly expands, almost transparent from being stretched. Even the buttons on the shirt were completely stretched open. Through his dark, swollen belly, I faintly saw some black shapes. Threads end, quickly writhing beneath the belly. All gather towards the mouth and throat. The next scene is something I will never forget. Suddenly, the fat boss stopped screaming. The body twitched as if it had been electrocuted. The mouth swelled into an O shape. The skin on the neck and face has stretched halfway. As the throat moved, it unexpectedly spewed out a stream of black water. Upon closer inspection, that is not black water at all, but rather a large group of small snakes crowded together. It's not much thicker than a worm, tumbling and stirring in his stomach. Finally pried open his mouth, along with the eye sockets and nose, even leaking straight from his ear. Burst out. Up. Everyone watching gasped in shock. The scream nearly tore through the throat. The crowd scattered in fear. Only the fat boss was left, still lying on the floor, trembling all over. Countless baby snakes bulged from his stomach, finally opened up the abdominal cavity, crawling all over the body. I collapsed to the ground on the spot, watching the chubby boss helplessly, swallowed by thousands of young snakes, all over the body. No longer can a complete good hide be seen. The young snake emitted a strong, pungent odor, spread far and wide. The smell is making my stomach churn. A wave of fear surged in. I can't breathe. The body shook even more violently than the fat boss. Suddenly, he let out a loud roar. He ran straight out of the town, running and running, suddenly unable to hold on, hugging a utility pole, started to vomit heavily. This is too cruel. I have never seen it in my entire life. Such a terrifying and disgusting scene. Wait for me to throw up enough. Just heard something behind me. Slow footsteps are approaching. With a quick turn of the head, I saw Master Feng approaching me with a cold expression. "Don't come over here." I was terrified. The butt feels like it's been hit by a high-pressure cushion, leaping 3 feet high. I just want to stay far away from this smelly old man. Feng wore a look of disdain. He let out a sigh. "You are a bit too timid. Can't even handle something like this. How to get into the industry in the future?" I'm about to cry. Trembling. "Elder brother, he's dead." He spread out his hands and said, "Every day people are dying in this world. It's either someone else dies or you do. What's the big deal about death? As long as the one who dies deserves it. Nothing is insurmountable." I fell to the ground with a miserable expression. That scene just now not only struck my vision, even the soul preserved a tremendous shock. Dull and foolish appearance. Squeezed a piece of wood. It's been a long time since we've spoken. See me like this. Master Feng sighed again and walked over. "Get up. I only kill those who deserve it." This also counts as settling a karmic debt with the heavens. Think about how that girl was driven to death. If the deceased is your family member, do you still think I'm being too much? I shook my head in disbelief. Actually, I understand the reasoning. The fat boss ruined Lai Fang's entire life, even forcing him to take his own life. Such a person is dead and gone. It's not worth feeling sorry about at all. But the problem is that this guy died because of me. If I hadn't helped Feng Shui collect his blood, how could he possibly cast the spell? I felt dazed. A deep sense of guilt surfaced in my heart. It makes me feel very disoriented. In the early hours of the morning, I had a dream. Dreamt of the fat boss lying on the ground covered in blood, questioning why I would harm myself. His abdominal cavity was opened, covered in a multitude of poisonous snakes. You could even faintly see the organs inside. The whole person is like a mop. Where to climb? The floor looks like it has been washed with blood. For this matter, I have a fever again. It took a whole week to finish burning. Fortunately, Lord Huingsea did not drive me away this time. You prepared a lot of medicine for me. Take it every morning and evening. A week later, I just barely managed to recover, only to root out the fear within. Still has not dissipated. I didn't even dare to meet Lord Huingsea's gaze. I always feel like there's a murderer around me. Huingsea knows what I'm thinking, patiently sitting next to me. Wang An, have you thought about it? Such a person as the chubby boss. If one commits evil but does not face punishment, in the future, it will definitely continue to harm other girls. Plus, he has money and a strong background. How many people will be unlucky in the long run? I nodded silently, but deep down, I still can't get over that hurdle. I understand the reasoning. Shouldn't it be the police's responsibility to eliminate evil and wrongdoing? We're not the police. By what right do you abuse vigilante justice? Perhaps it is influenced by the 9-year compulsory education. I spend my life in the new China, grew up under the red flag. I really can't accept Master Huingsea's way. Master Huingsea smiled, scoffed disdainfully. I am a sorcerer. Naturally, I don't get along with the people inside the palace gates. Haven't you heard? Transgressing the laws of chivalry. The sorcerer has his own standards of justice, unbound by the constraints of the law. Moreover, many unfair things happen. There is simply no way to resolve this through legal means. I won't speak any more. To distract oneself, numbly turned on the television. Just then, the TV was reporting about the fat boss. News of the victim. Several reporters stood outside the supermarket where the incident occurred. Attempt to restore the scene of the fat boss's sudden death. Several witnesses also appeared at the scene, vividly depicting the bloody scene at the time of the incident. I'm still on TV. Saw the incomplete body of the fat boss, even with the mosaic effect. But it can still be vaguely distinguished. His stomach has been completely hollowed out. The television report summarized the cause of his death. It's said that this guy likes to eat sashimi, caused by parasitic infection. Huingsai directly called it nonsense, turned off the TV and said, I really can't stand reading these news articles. One by one, waving the banner of science. Talking nonsense. It's time for you to pull yourself together. Are we really going to be depressed for a lifetime? I take a deep breath. Went to the kitchen to wash my face. The cold well water washes over the boiling brain. I finally feel a little better inside, but my heart still feels heavy. I feel like I'm not really suited for this line of work. Master Huingsea chuckled. Whatever. Do you want to learn? Layazi is not interested in making friends yet. Once the fate of the child is fulfilled, in the end, the only one who will suffer is yourself. His words made my lips twitch violently. Fear of death. Ultimately, I overcame that trace of guilt within my heart. I had to stop in my tracks. After careful consideration, quickly calm down your emotions. Returning to Master Huingsea, I said, Grandfather, how did you manage to do it? Only then can it be done on the fat boss. Grew so many tongue eggs, although I witnessed the entire process of him casting the spell, but until this moment, still feels inexplicable. Lord Huingsea said slowly, the principle is actually very simple. The sorcerer achieved mastery through training. You can enhance your own mental power. It was time to cast the spell. Then attach your own mental power to the misty medium. Then activate it through a special spell. Amplify this mental power infinitely. Ultimately, it acts upon the target. You can achieve the effect you desire. Of course, it's easier said than done, but in practice, yet it is fraught with difficulties. First, casting a spell requires mental power. This kind of mind power, it must be obtained through long-term cultivation, through the perception of nature and spiritual resonance. Only by having this spirit. Next is the sutra and mantra methods used for casting spells, the unspoken secrets of this industry. Only those who have truly passed the master's test. Only then are you qualified to be involved. There's one more thing. Master Huangzi practices dark arts. To enhance the power of the spell often requires the enhancement of the fog medium, the so-called mist. It could be an item tainted with evil energy, or have seen the weapon of evil. It could also be the bones of the dead, oil refined from the corpses of the deceased, and so on. In summary, everything attached to the dark energy. All can be used to enhance the power of spells. However, these things are quite hard to find. Usually, only those who specialize in, only those in this line of work will conduct the collection. Master Huang spoke a lot in one breath. It's hard for me to digest this for a while. Just stop and say. Additionally, I have learned my shadow technique, setting up a Feng Shui arrangement for your future. It also has certain supportive effects. I don't understand. Your dark magic spell. How can it still be related to Feng Shui? You wouldn't understand this, would you? Master Huangzi resumed his aloof expression. He proudly began to introduce himself to me. Feng Shui is divided into two types. A type called Yang formation. A type of formation called Yin Zhen. The main purpose of Yang formation Feng Shui is abstinence from food. In simple terms, it is about utilizing a reasonable layout. Attach a positive vibe to the client. Give him positive guidance. However, the effects of the Yang arrangement in Feng Shui are slow to manifest. It can only bring positive guidance to a person's aura, but cannot truly change a person's destiny. The Feng Shui information is different, as long as it's used properly. You can harness the power of the shadow spirits, elevating a person's fortune in a short time, even forcibly changing fate. Of course, there are side effects to doing this. Everyone's blessings are innate. It is destined, unless one has an extraordinary opportunity. Otherwise, the blessings will not increase. It won't decrease either. If one forcibly changes their fortune using a shadow formation, it's like overdrawing in advance. The blessings one should have in this lifetime, when the blessings are all used up. Next, all that's left is bad luck. I was reckless when I was young. Once used dark magic to help many people change their fortunes. But in the end, the outcome for these people, neither are too good, including your adoptive father, Chen Nazai. It's also because of forcefully helping others to peek into their fate. Only in old age will one face retribution. Master Huangzi looked at me with a serious expression. Every word is spoken with emphasis. Teach you something. It's to protect oneself, breaking free from destiny's constraints, instead of showing off worldly skills, interfering recklessly in others' karma. When will you understand this principle? Even if one has attained enlightenment. Master Huangzi spoke a lot. Unfortunately, I was just too young back then. I can't understand the meaning of these words at all. After that, Master Huangzi officially began. Guide me in my cultivation, but I am still not allowed to apprentice. We have a prior agreement before the official initiation. I must satisfy his 3 trials. The first trial, it's just a door knocker. Prove that I have perseverance and determination to engage in this field. As for what the second and third trials are, Master Huangzi didn't say anything for now. Disdain for my insufficient abilities. It's simply impossible to achieve. When will you? Truly possessing this ability, I'll tell you how to do it. That's it. I became his esteemed disciple, although there was no formal apprenticeship. But Huang Sai is a very trustworthy person. Soon they provided me with some basic cultivation techniques, teach me how to regulate my breath. Fu, sensing the Kai of nature, I started my career too late. I had only learned a portion of the theoretical knowledge from my adoptive father. Most of them are related to Feng Shui, on how to practice witchcraft spells. He's just a novice. Master Huang Si thinks I'm too stupid, hitting with a smoking pipe every few days. Many martial arts techniques, according to him, a qualified sorcerer. Often, it requires mastery of both martial and literary skills. Whether it's Feng Shui formations or dark sorcery spells, no matter how powerful it is, it still requires human arrangement. The more powerful the spell, the longer the preparation time needed. While you are chanting this spell, it's enough to charge at the opponent. I've killed you 10 times. So I not only have to study law, still need to practice. During the day, we'd grind our bones at the farm. In the evening, I practiced the breathing techniques he taught me. Occasionally, I also need to take time to study the Feng Shui tricks left behind by my adoptive father. Every day is incredibly fulfilling, although the student life is very tough. But after a few months, I have also gained a certain level of achievement. Huang Sai truly lives up to being my adoptive father's master, not only proficient in spells. Understanding and applying Feng Shui is quite impressive. In my spare time, can you give me some insights on Feng Shui theories? Under his guidance, I am making rapid progress regarding some obscure and difficult tree path theories. Also gradually became enlightened. But when I performed my adoptive father's Feng Shui tricks, voluntarily offer oneself, when I planned to teach Master Huang Si, he sternly shook his head in refusal. My training direction is different from your adoptive father's. We once swore a deadly oath before our master. Absolutely must not covet each other's methods. I don't understand. They were all taught by the same master. Why can't what we learn be shared? Huang Sai shook his head and said, "This involves a secret of the sect. You are still young. There's no need to delve into this secret. I still feel confused. Since that's the case, then why can I learn both Feng Shui and dark magic at the same time?" Huang Sai is annoyed by a pug. Hit me hard on the forehead with the rod, staring and speaking. Let you practice, practice. Where is all this nonsense coming from? Stop talking nonsense. Layazi, cut off your tongue. I covered my mouth in fright. Don't say that. If the tongue is cut off, the spells you taught me no longer work. How to carry on and develop the traditions of the sect, then? He was both angry and amused, kicked me in the butt and said, "There's a lot of nonsense. Hurry up and stand firm." After spending a long time with this old man, I discovered that beneath his stern exterior, there is also a particularly cute side, a typical sharp-tongued yet soft-hearted person, even though they call me names, occasionally giving me a beating for education. But secretly, they still care about me a lot. From the first day I started, every half-month, he would always simmer a large pot of fragrant soup for me. Let me jump into the barrel and soak. Brew these fragrant soups. Many precious Chinese medicinal herbs need to be prepared. The expenses are enormous. I don't understand at all. Where did this old man get so many precious medicinal herbs? The customs pass as the cold comes. Days are like a fleeting play. The year has quickly passed. 2 years after becoming a disciple, Master Huangzi is no longer forcing me to practice. That day he specifically called me out. This place is truly remarkable. The master leads you to the door. Ziu Zing looked at the person. This year I laid a solid foundation for you. It also taught you quite a few rudimentary spells. Can it be used properly? It depends on your own fate. I still have some personal matters to handle. I'm afraid I have to leave for a while. Don't forget you still owe me 30,000 in tuition fees. When I come back, the accounts must be settled. I am at a loss whether to cry or laugh. This old man is really amusing. I have served him for a year. I usually help wash even the underwear. Why are you still thinking about that tuition fee all the time? Huangzi rolled his eyes. Let's call a spade a spade. You are not yet my official disciple. Why should I teach you skills without getting paid? There is one more thing. In the future, you'll venture out into the world. What a mess. I can ignore everything. There is only one thing. Seeing his expression so serious, there wasn't a hint of joking around. I hurriedly bowed down to the ground. Speak a word. I understand now. He pressed his hand on the top of my head again, gently tapped 3 times. You want me to do good deeds and accumulate virtue. Take care of yourself. This was said in the year my adoptive father passed away. The words left behind are the same, one by one. I was puzzled. Why is everyone afraid I'll go out and cause trouble? Am I really that troublemaking? Huangzi opened his mouth. Several times I wanted to speak but hesitated. But he said nothing, just shook his head and sighed. Roll away. This time I will be going on a long trip. Perhaps I won't be able to return for a long time. I hope that when I see you again, you have become a man who stands tall and proud. I blinked my eyes. Say it. Where are you planning to go? How long will it take? He shook his head. Not sure myself. As short as 3 to 5 months. It could be a year long. I can't really explain it either. That place is very eerie. You are not qualified to inquire. After speaking, he shouldered a bundle. I don't care about my expression. Turned and walked out of the small courtyard. This old man is always like this. Just love to play tricks for no reason. I have already gotten used to it. Silently squatting at the door, watched him disappear from sight. Only then did I go back inside to tidy up one's own belongings. Studying here for a year. I only return home during the new year. Granted permission to go home, I've never had the time to visit my parents. Today, Lord Huangzi is going out to handle business. Guessing it will take at least half a year to return. I also don't plan to stay here any longer. I still owe that old man 30,000 in tuition. We need to fill this hole as soon as possible. To avoid him turning hostile, refused to continue teaching me. After packing the luggage, I immediately carried the suitcase out. Returned to my hometown after half a year, although the place where I learned my skills, not far from Mom and Dad. But because of this damned fate, I hardly ever returned home. I occasionally miss my parents. It was also through the phone that we got in touch. Lion's family has changed their house. The lock doesn't even know. Just like that, I was locked outside and squatted there for half a day. I can't even begin to express how frustrated I am. Until Mom came home after work with groceries. I saw a sturdy kid at the door. Jing is squatting in the corridor, looking distressed while smoking. She joyfully ran over. Wanban, how did you become so strong? When will you come back? I don't even know to make a phone call. I'm feeling really down. Who knows you changed the lock? I can be considered a part of this family after all. Now it's gotten to the point where I can't even enter the house. How do you become a mother? Mom patted me on the head twice. Say, little cub, how do you talk to me? Don't think that growing up means. I wouldn't dare to teach you a lesson. I haven't asked you yet. How did you become so strong? I said, can it not be solid? Every day, I am forced by Master Huangzi to practice martial arts at the farm, often resorting to punches and throat strikes. You hit me now. I can't feel the pain anymore. Mom's heart is soft. I know this past year has not been easy for me. Said with a pained expression, it's nothing. Hurry inside. Mom made you braised meat to eat. Stepping back into the house again, I instead feel that this place has become much stranger. Home is still the same home, only the mindset has changed significantly. This is a feeling that cannot be described. Studying abroad for a year, people have also become worn down, looking as always. Mom busily working in the kitchen. Unintentionally, I felt a twinge of heartache. I walked over to actively help her pick vegetables. Just rest, Mom. I'll take over. You took the wrong medicine. Mom shuddered all over. It looks like you're staring at a ghost. My understanding actually made her feel quite uncomfortable. I'm speechless. You raised me to this age. Shouldn't I cook a meal for you? By the way, where's my dad? Mom quickly took out her phone. I called my dad. His father is still busy at the construction site, right? Hurry back. Our son just got home. I feel like he's gone a bit silly. It's different from before. I was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. I'll help make a meal. Why does it feel like the food has been tampered with? Reflecting on myself before the age of 18. Indeed, very naughty. It's quite unreasonable. Now I've grown up. I just wanted to treat my parents a little better. Who knew what his first reaction would be? It turns out I have a mental issue. Soon Dad came home as well. He has a rather dull personality. I don't even know what to say to you. I just asked a simple question. My situation at Lord Huang's place. Just sitting on the sofa in silence. While tidying the bed in the evening, Mom asked me this time, how long do you plan to stay home? Does this mean we won't have to go out anymore? I shook my head, said they were just going home for a few days. It's almost time to leave. Mom looked reluctant. You little half-grown child. No degree and no skills. How to establish oneself in society? I said with a smile, Mom, don't underestimate me. The hard work of this year was not in vain. I learned quite a few skills from my master. Self-reliance is no problem. I overestimated the simplicity of the situation, thinking I had grasped a bit. Loose to the fur. It can be like what is shown on TV, like that group of masters, respected everywhere. A few days later, I said goodbye to my parents, ran alone to set up a stall near the city garden. I originally planned to intercept a few Feng Shui jobs. Practice well. It can be guarded for 2 days. A client was not kept. Instead, a few boastful city management officers showed up, threatening to take away the guy who's supposed to treat me to a meal. Maybe I have to change a few places. A Feng Shui master so young. It's truly rare. It's said that words spoken lightly hold no weight. Many people come to me for consultation. It's really time to pay. One by one, the yellow croakers slipped away. The first time starting a business in life. Thus it came to a tragic end. It's hard not to feel frustrated. That must be fake. Suddenly, the phone vibrated. Received a call from an old acquaintance. It was this phone call. For my bizarre career, the curtain has been raised. The caller was Jubapi. It's the unscrupulous merchant who helped me capture the burning fan before. They pressed me for information about the whereabouts of Lord Hewing C. Said they have taken on a new project. I want to ask Fourth Master for help. I really can't believe my luck. He went on a sudden trip. Said he needed to deal with something. It will take at least 6 months to come back. Jubapi appeared somewhat dejected. How did it end up that they went to another place? He didn't say what he was going to do. I said no. But this matter seems quite important. The old man won't let me pry into things. Jubapi let out a groan. I originally wanted to hang up the phone. Could hesitate for a moment. He switched to a cheerful tone again. Can't find Hewing Lao. It's the same for you. Haven't you been by his side learning all this time? A year has already passed. You must have learned quite a few skills, right? I guessed what this guy was trying to do. Speak immediately. Are you planning to ask me for help? Handle the business at hand. Hey, brother, you are truly smart, Jubapi said with a grin. It's actually not a big deal. It's just a client of mine. I've been having trouble sleeping lately, suspecting that something unclean might have disturbed their home. I want to find someone to exorcise evil spirits. Such a great business. My first thought was of Hewing Lao. Since he is not here, I'll just introduce you. Anyway, you can consider yourself half of his disciple. Everyone is the same. I didn't agree right away. It seems a bit difficult. But I haven't been in the field for long. I only learned some theoretical knowledge. When it comes to exorcism, I'm afraid. Oh dear, brother. This kind of thing is actually very simple. Before I could finish speaking, Jubapi sneakily interrupted me. I have visited the client's home. There is no way to sense any negative energy at all. 99% is not really causing trouble. It might be a problem with the client's mindset. Suspicion breeds dark ghosts. Kai always suspected that there was something unclean living in the house. Just come with me for a trip, pretending to perform a ritual to exorcise evil spirits. Provide psychological comfort to the client. Once he was less tense, the body naturally heals itself. I can also earn a considerable commission. I was taken aback. Are you not deceiving me? Jubapi spoke eloquently. How can this be considered deceiving? He himself said it was a disturbance. Even if I don't take this deal, others will also take it. A bargain that comes easily. No gain, no loss. I was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. I intended to refuse. But considering I've been selling for so long, not a single cent has been earned. If we don't open soon, it seems we might have to rely on the northwestern wind. I can only manage to force myself. It's not impossible. Then I helped you this time. How much reward can we get? Jubapi immediately pounded his chest louder than a drum. Don't worry, little brother. Cooperating with me will bring you great benefits. Benefits are shared equally. I will give you 2,000 yuan as a reward. How do you feel? I pondered quietly. 2009. Our small county town's economy isn't very prosperous. 2,000 is already worth one. The monthly salary of the working class. Since the client's home isn't actually haunted. It also means that I just follow Lao Zhu to take a stroll at the fake pot market. Opportunities to earn 2,000 for nothing are rare. This deal is indeed quite worthwhile. I was eager to escape my financial difficulties as I just entered society. So without thinking, immediately agree. I bought the train ticket in the afternoon. Directly through the quiet alley. Jubapi is waiting for me at the shop. I rushed here, weary from my travels. Without further ado, I followed a broken tricycle to the client's house. Upon arriving at the place, I just realized this client is quite wealthy. In sight, a structure, a small villa covering over 300 square meters. The entrance is spacious, built several artificial hills and fishing ponds. There are several fat and thin fish swimming in the pond. The arrangement is quite meticulous. You can tell who built the house. Also understands some Feng Shui principles. The villa layout is narrow in the front. The back is wide. The pond in front of the door is a source of fresh water. It has a very good gathering effect. These days, the wealthier people are, the more they pay attention to Feng Shui. This community is indeed nice. Sitting by the water and leaning on the mountain, the view from the entrance is expansive, especially in the central of Jiaxin City. A flower bed built from raw stones was also constructed. The surroundings are filled with something resembling bud carvings. The flower bed faces the road, perfectly round and flawless. It has a good drawing effect. I'm quite puzzled. The owner has built such a nice house. The Feng Shui and fortune are also prosperous. It should have gone smoothly, logically speaking. How did I get involved in this inexplicably? Now sigh, Ju Bappy whispered. I also think it's unlikely that this place is haunted. But the customer insisted that they encountered something bad. I can't just talk back to him, can I? The reward in hand should not be wasted. I am speechless. While assessing the layout of the house, suddenly someone walked towards me, a woman in her early 20s, dressed in a stylish and exquisite manner, dressed in designer brands. It looks quite valuable. I was just curious about who this person is. Ju Bappy greeted with a cheerful smile. Hello, Miss Huang. Xiao Wan. Let me introduce you. This Miss Huang is our employer. I was shocked that the employer was a woman, and she looks so young and beautiful. Stunned and unsure how to react. Miss Huang is coming quickly, looked me up and down, slightly furrowed her brow. Was Ju, this is the master you brought. Why do you look about the same age as me? Is it reliable? Ju Bappy suddenly coughed, nodding and bowing to Miss Huang. Don't be fooled by Wan En's young age. His teacher had a significant background, the teacher who taught him skills. But it is said that the most famous medium master in this area. An old saying goes, ambition is not determined by age. My little brother knows astronomy, understanding Feng Shui. I got into this industry when I was 6 years old. Born to be a sorcerer. You can definitely rely on him for your problem. This fat guy is eloquent, flattering the girl with a bunch of nonsensical compliments. I wish you would praise me to the heavens. It actually makes me feel quite embarrassed. So he walked over and preached. Don't listen to his nonsense. I have only followed 2 masters. Just a bit of knowledge about Feng Shui. Miss Huang let out a groan. It seems to be a test of my abilities. Immediately pointed at his own grievances. Can you see the Feng Shui problems in my house? I nodded and said, Sure. Your home's Feng Shui is fine. It is a typical Jinyang pattern. The mountains and waters surround, gathering wind and energy. People who usually live in such places, the fortune is quite prosperous. If I'm not mistaken, your father must be a businessman. Moreover, the business is quite substantial. Miss Huang blinked. He asked again, So can you guess what my mom does? What she said was clear. It's testing my abilities. Although I am not very proficient in the art of destiny compensation, the art of fortune telling can be quite superficial. There are still some. Gazed around Miss Huang's face, shaking his head. Your parents are dim, slightly regrettable. explaining family discord. The parents' relationship had long been broken. If I'm not mistaken, you come from a single-parent family. Parents should have divorced a long time ago. Listen to what I have to say. Miss Hewing immediately became excited and grabbed my hand. With a joyful expression, he said, "It really is incredible. I believe. You really have some skills now. My parents indeed divorced quite early. These years, I have always lived with my dad. Miss Hewing is fair-skinned and beautiful, looks young and vibrant. The fragrance that wafts towards me, it made my heart skip a beat. Quickly open your eyes." Shen Xiao said, "You flatter me. This is just a bit of superficial facial reading skill. Unable to step into the grand hall. Once upon a time, what exactly have you encountered? Why do you need to find me and Lao Zhu to write?" Miss Hewing finally entered her true form. "Let go and say, it is like this. Recently, these days, I often have nightmares. My mental state is worsening day by day. Sometimes during the day, I feel a lack of focus. Especially at night, it feels like there is an extra person at home." I was taken aback. She asked her to speak more clearly. Miss Hewing said, "To put it simply, I've been feeling down lately. I specifically went to the doctor to get some sleeping pills. As soon as it gets dark, I go to sleep on time. But every time I sleep until after midnight, you can always hear sounds coming from outside the house. There is a sound of someone knocking at the door. The door opened, but nothing was visible. The pet dog at home, always barking at my front door. They say dogs have a sixth sense. You can see unclean things. Or family's pet dog, endlessly shouting at the door, at it every midnight. You can hear that knocking sound." Miss Hewing was indeed quite frightened. I frowned. "Besides this, is there more?" She nodded, said with a hint of fear, "And also, my backyard. There is always the sound of someone coughing. It often happens at night. At home, it's just me and a pet dog. There's no one else left. That cough sounds particularly old. An old man is coughing urgently. There are no elderly people in my home. It must have been something unclean that got in." Seeing her speak so confidently, I was puzzled instead. Exchanged a glance with Zhu Bapi. "Ask her what she thinks." Zhu Bapi smiled kindly. "Younger brother, I am just a middleman. Still don't understand how to exercise. Matters related to this, you have to make the decision yourself. Pet, forget I asked. I asked Miss Hewing to open the door. First, take me into the living room to have a look." She nodded and did as instructed. He invited me into the villa to inquire. Her home has a traditional Chinese decor. There are many ancient artifacts and paintings hanging on the wall. Most of the furniture is wooden. Various hollowed-out silver screens, carved beams, and painted rafters. I am not only amazed. The life of the wealthy is all about refinement. Even the bathroom is as big as my bedroom. The indoor lighting and atmosphere are very pleasant, except for the direction of the opening not being very good. It's easy to get hit when facing the road. Chiwink Sha, I couldn't see any other problems at all. No wonder Zhu Bapi would doubt the client. There is a problem in the heart. With a serious and responsible attitude, I continued to ask, "Miss Hewing, your home is so big. Why haven't I seen anyone else?" "Don't call me Miss Hewing. I'm about the same age as you. Just call me Hewing Yun." She shook her head, said that my dad is always busy with business. Still looking for a little vixen outside. I rarely go home to stay anymore, even though my family is wealthy. But the family relationships were not very good. I let out a groan. Nodding, he said, "No wonder. There is an old saying in the industry. An empty house easily attracts ghosts. The larger the space of the room, the more one needs someone to calm the house. Huang Yun is another girl. The woman's constitution is predominantly yin, unable to stabilize the feng shui at home. Over time, problems do arise easily." She immediately said, "That being said, my home is indeed haunted. Could it be because the room at home has been empty for a long time? That's why it attracted unclean things." I shook my head and said, "Not necessarily. Your house is situated in the prime sunny position. The feng shui is so good, even if it remains vacant for a while. It may not be haunted after all. Typically, spirits prefer areas with heavy in energy, a dim and damp place. Huang Yun's family cannot meet the above conditions. It is impossible to summon wandering spirits to dwell here. So what exactly happened?" Huang Yun got anxious. Stamping her feet, she switched to a sweet, flirtatious voice. "It makes me feel uneasy all over. I can only say, if you don't mind, help me clear some space in the living room tonight. I just need to stay for one night. You can clarify the ins and outs. Let me say I want to stay for a night." Huang Yan hesitated immediately. No wonder. She is a young unmarried woman. Out of nowhere, a strange man stay overnight at home. It's indeed not very pleasant to hear. I coughed robustly. "Or you can move out on your own. Don't stay home alone in the future. Perhaps this kind of thing wouldn't happen." Huang Yun pondered for a moment, shaking his head. "This house was left to me by my grandfather. When I was young, my parents had a bad relationship. You don't care about me at all. I can only live with my grandfather. He left this house to me after he left. I can't bear to move. You should stay. It's just one night's stay anyway. No one will know." I looked at Ju Bappy. He had no objections. A few coins flashed in front of me. It's good to stay behind. I've never lived in such a luxurious house before. I touted, "This guy in name only. It is to help customers solve problems." Yet on the face there is a leisurely calm. It feels like a vacation. Everything is pushed onto me. So irresponsible. While Huan Yun entered the room to tidy up, Ju Bappy approached me again and said, "Little brother, as you said, the feng shui in this place is so good. It doesn't seem like a joke at all. I feel it doesn't need to be this complicated. Just go through the motions tonight. I feel like it's not a joke. Of course, you can't arrange too many mirrors at home, because mirrors belong to metal. It also has the meaning of cooking a sofa, if the mirror is not placed correctly. It could also bring about a disaster of bloodshed." Just as I was moving things, suddenly footsteps were heard outside the courtyard. Before long, a figure is approaching from outside the villa. A middle-aged man wearing glasses, around 50 years old, wearing a black suit. Slim figure, cheeks are sunken with hardly any flesh on the bones. Slightly protruding chin. Typical underbite, a pair of mouse eyes, circling around the courtyard. At first glance, it looks very sneaky. I thought he was Huang Yun's dad. Quickly called the person out. Little did Huang Yun know, upon seeing this man, her expression fell. Said impatiently, "Manager Zhao, why are you at my house again?" Manager Zhao smiled. This Huang said, "How have you thought about what we discussed last time? Our offer is already very high. Do you want to think about it again?" "No need. This is the house left by my grandfather. No amount of money will make me sell. Besides, my family doesn't lack money. Please don't disturb my life anymore." Yuing Yan's attitude towards Manager Zhao is not very good. Manager Zhao doesn't mind the ancient language. Just smiled dryly. Shaking his head, he said, "Then I'll come back when you've made your decision." Then he turned around and walked out. Ju Bapi and I were both puzzled. "Miss Huan, who was that person just now?" Yuang Yan sighed. He is the executive manager of a real estate company. "Recently, there will be demolition near my home. They have set their sights on my family's land. Several groups of people have already arrived. Zhu Nuo promised me a large sum of compensation. I need to sign the relocation agreement again." Zhu Bapi's eyes lit up. Slapping his thigh, he exclaimed, "Isn't this a good thing? Your house occupies such a large area. You will definitely receive a substantial amount from the relocation compensation." Yuan Yan puffed up and said, "Absolutely not. My family is not short of money. The house was left to me by my grandfather. He cared for me so much in his lifetime. It has been less than 2 years since they died. I decided to sell the old house. If Grandpa knew in the afterlife, definitely will be sad." I didn't expect Huang Yan to be such a filial girl. I nodded and said, "That's right. The properties left by our ancestors are priceless. The old house has such good feng shui. May it bless your family's fortune to always be prosperous. Selling it really doesn't make sense." Soon the sky darkened. "I see it's getting late. Let Huang Yan return to the bedroom and lock the door to rest. Come out when it gets light. Zijai Huan Jing Liang helps him sort out the matters at home." Huang Yan appeared somewhat anxious. "Feeling anxious and uneasy. I'm not sleepy yet. Don't go to bed so early. The teacher said I am a bit scared. Always worried that I might fall asleep. What else is knocking at the door?" Ju Bapi patted his chest and said, "Don't be afraid. 2 big gentlemen are waiting outside. Even if there are ghosts, they might not be able to get in. Moreover, there's still Wang Yan. No problem, I guarantee it. In front of the employer. This household takes on everything. It definitely won't be a problem." I also handed a paper to Huang Yan. "Purification incantation. Let him lock the door after he goes back inside. Talisman pasted on the window. May you have a peaceful night." No matter how you say it. Huang Yan finally went to the bedroom. He just left. Ju Bapi insisted that I give him a talisman. "Little brother, you just gave Huang Yan the talisman. Is there any left? Hurry up and get a picture for my older brother too." I am speechless. "You said you would guarantee it repeatedly. Is there a problem with his family? Why are you asking me for the talisman?" Talismans are not given out casually. I have been learning from Master Huang Sai for over a year. I can only draw some basic talismans. Moreover, drawing talismans is a great experience. I hardly have any survival left myself. Ju Bapi had a face full of displeasure. Accuse me of being too stingy. Isn't it just a talisman? Seeing you makes my heart ache. This house feels so empty. It seems fine during the day. The atmosphere at night is indeed a bit eerie. What if I saw it wrong? What should I do if it's really haunted?" He clings on shamelessly. He insisted that I give him one. If you encounter something dirty, can also protect oneself. I feel like laughing a little. Speaking of old Zhu, you can't be serious. How long have you been in this line of work? Why are you still afraid of ghosts? Ju Bapi glanced at me and said, "Of course, I am afraid of ghosts. I don't want to be like that either. You have a genuine sorcerer's legacy here, although he is a famous businessman. But I only act as a middleman for the transactions. Never catches ghosts by himself. I never learned how to catch ghosts. I am puzzled by him. Since you don't understand ghost catching, how did you get into this line of work? The words still haven't arrived. Quick escape. I can feel the wind picking up outside the hall. A cold wind sound blew in from nowhere. Cece is sticking to the floor, directly drilling into the pant leg. It makes me feel somewhat uncomfortable. Ju Bapi also got nervous. Suddenly jumped up from the sofa, holding the imperial talisman just snatched from my hands, peeking and scrutinizing. Little brother, why was there suddenly a gust of wind? It feels quite eerie. Could it be ghost? The words haven't slipped out yet. I just held onto his shoulder. Shaking his head, he said, "Don't talk nonsense. It's just a normal breeze." Though that's what they say. But I felt puzzled in my heart. Huinyan's home Feng Shui layout is good. According to reasoning, there shouldn't be such a draft through the hall. It is now July. The southwest has just entered summer. The weather is still quite hot. A sudden draft rush through. It gives a gloomy feeling, not quite normal. Du Bappy swallowed hard and said, "No way. This wind feels very eerie. It might not work out. There really are dirty things in his house. If that's the case, I need to quickly discuss with the client. Give more money." After saying this, he rushed towards Huenyan's bedroom, yelling about wanting to raise the price. I was left in tears and laughter. I was just about to say, "Can you calm down a bit?" Suddenly heard again a faint rustling sound. It seems like something is flapping its wings. Don't wait for me to hear clearly. What is that? Outside the tomb gate. It really came. The sound of knocking, in the dead of night, appears very abrupt, creates an inexplicable eerie atmosphere. Ju Bappy fell silent. Peeking back cautiously, hiding behind the sofa, I said, "Little brother, listen. It seems like something is really knocking on the door." I heard it too. Squinting, I looked outside the door. A strange anxiety rises in my heart. It shouldn't be like that. I just looked at the Feng Shui of the old house this afternoon. This doesn't seem like a place for mischief. Could it be that my skills are lacking? Missed some details. At this moment, the tombstone's gate is still shaking. The sound of banging on the door, continuously coming through. The door hinge creaked as well. The sway of the answer. The eerie atmosphere is intensifying. I immediately clenched the talisman used to ward off evil. Slowly moved towards the main door. Du Bappy is very anxious. Cautiously following behind me. Traveling with a wrong tone. "Little brother, can you do it?" Even though I say this. But deep down I still felt anxious. This year I have been by Lord Huangxi's side. Most of what I learned is theoretical knowledge. I haven't fully learned the spell. The practical experience is almost zero. I'm not sure if I can really catch ghosts. But now we can only give it our all. I forced myself to calm down, move a little to the front of the gate, pressing the door frame with one hand. With a sudden force, he pulled the door open a crack. The right hand swiftly threw out a talisman. The talisman paper slips through the door crack into the darkness. But there was no response for a long time. Instead, Yifeng was knocked back and flew away. Now I'm dumbfounded. What the heck is so powerful? Not even afraid of my talisman paper. Ju Bappy was so scared that his throat trembled. He pushed me and said, "Your talisman doesn't work either. There is no sound outside. You shut up. Speak less. I am so angry I can't contain it." Bumped into courage. He directly reached out and pulled the door open. My talent for drawing talismans was taught to me hand in hand by Master Huangxi. Even if my skills are still lacking, I can't deal with the evil spirits. It shouldn't be completely silent either. My intuition tells me it's highly unlikely that the one knocking outside is a ghost. Indeed, when I mustered the courage to pull the door open, neither did they see the green-faced, fanged evil spirit. No presence of any sinister energy was detected. Instead, I saw a few bats the size of fists, just like a fly on the brow, banging wildly on the door, constantly making a popping noise. Pues, what are you doing? It turned out that the ones banging on the door were a group of bats. Seeing this, I immediately felt deflated. The tightly clenched fist also relaxed. Bappy and I both looked surprised, looked at the bat hanging on the door, stunned and speechless. This is really bizarre. These bats must be sick. What are you doing banging on the main door in the middle of the night? I can't figure out what these bats are up to either. I had no choice but to find a piece of cloth from inside the house. First, cover a bat, holding it in hand, looking around. Just when I was puzzled, Bappy poked me with his elbow a few times. Brother, take a look. These bats are not just knocking on the door, still scratching at the door with its paws. Why does it seem like you are looking for something? I am even more confused. Take a closer look. These bats are indeed all clinging to the door, constantly scratching with its claws. As we all know, bats are nocturnal creatures. During the day, I can only sleep in the cave. Only at night do I have time to go out for food. They fear the sunlight, so they hide during the day and come out at night. The time to escape the cave is very short, unless it's for finding food. Otherwise, it would rarely appear in human sight. I feel increasingly strange. Focus and take a closer look. Suddenly beneath the bat's claws on the wooden board, caught something dark red, furrowed her brows and leaned into stitch. Suddenly a faint smell of fish filled the air. After a moment of contemplation, suddenly Zamu traveled to the future. So it was like this. Sure enough, someone is up to no good. Bappy was taken aback, turned to me and say, "Did you figure out what was going on?" A very cliched trick. Boast tricks commonly used by sorcerers in the old society. It's not surprising at all. I smiled wickedly. Bring a few pieces of black cloth. Blindfold all the bats. Stuffed into a pocket. There are quite a few bats outside. I asked Bappy to bring a bamboo pole. Hang these bats on the tree. Shoot them all down. Don't wake the employer from their sleep. Bappy refused, shaking his head vigorously. Ask me what kind of medicine is really sold in my gourd. I smiled. No explanations. Follow my instructions. I'll tell you the reason after dawn. We kept watch until dawn. Bappy and I caught bats all night, until the sun rises. The living room is already filled with a bag. Not long after, Yun has also woken up. Yawning, I walked out of the bedroom. He walked towards me, expressing his deep gratitude. "Wanban, you really have the ability to catch ghosts. I didn't hear that knocking sound last night. Finally, a good night's sleep." "Right. Have you successfully caught the ghost?" "There are no ghosts at all. Clearly, someone is taking advantage of your cowardice." Directed a play filled with suspicion and paranoia. I smiled. "Show him the bat caught last night." Yun was taken aback, pointing in surprise at the bat in the pocket. "What is this?" I shook my pocket at him. "That's song. Haven't you seen it?" Yun stared blankly. "I have seen it before. I've never seen so many. Where did these bats come from? Why did you run into my house?" I shrugged. "Didn't you often hear someone knocking at the door outside before? The knocking sound is indeed real, but the sound is not made by a human. but rather the bats that come from these mountains. Last night, Zhu Bapi and I were busy all night. Caught most of the bats. That's why Huang Yun can sleep so peacefully." Huang Yun was stunned. In an instant it became both laughable and tearful. "There are no ghosts haunting the family. But it is these bats that are causing trouble. It's not just that." I glanced at the entrance of his house. "Have Zhu Bapi bring over the fruit knife from the coffee table." Huang Yun did not understand why, staring blankly at me. "I don't feel like rambling on either." Walk directly to the wooden gate. Scrape the door a few times with the fruit knife. Peel off the outer paint, revealing some dark red Jupiter. "What is going on?" Huang Yun was completely stunned, staring wide-eyed. I just began to explain the principles behind it. "It's actually very simple. Someone took advantage of your absence, caught a few yellow fan fish and bled them. Then smear the blood of these mountain fish at your front door. After sufficient soaking, wait for the wooden grain of the door. After being soaked in the blood of the mountain fish, reapply a layer of turpentine paint, due to the coverage of pine resin paint. Others cannot smell the blood on the door. But there are two exceptions among the animals. One is a dog. One type is a bat. Dogs have an incredible sense of smell. The sense of smell is dozens of times stronger than that of an ordinary person. Huang Yun's pet dog is also, because they smelled the blood on the door. That's why it happens every now and then, calling out to the main door. As for the bat, this thing thrives on blood, especially sensitive to the fishy smell of mountain fish blood. Suspecting there is food behind the door. It's the middle of the night and someone is banging on the door. Huang Yun is not clear about these intricacies. Every night I hear a knocking sound at the door. Opened the door but saw nothing. Plus the pet dog I raised myself, always yelling at the front door. This is when I suspected that there were ghosts in the house." "What did you say?" "This. Listen to my analysis." Huang Yun was instantly both amused and bewildered. This is when I realized the behavior of being suspicious all day long, how ridiculous it is. But he quickly asked again. "The knocking sound is caused by a bat hitting the door. Then I heard the old man's cough. How should I explain it again?" I smiled with a mysterious expression. "Come with me to stroll around the back garden. You will naturally understand." As I spoke, I had already stepped out the door, walked towards the back garden silently. Their courtyard is very large. The front and back courtyards. The front yard has a rockery and a fishing pond. The backyard is filled with vegetation and potted plants. I searched around in the bushes. It took less than a quarter of an hour. Right under the grass. Dragged out an iron cage. A few hedgehogs were raised in the cage. Very big. My stomach is bloated. Clearly a pregnant mother hedgehog. "What's going on with this hedgehog?" Huang Yun was completely stunned, staring at me in disbelief. This time, don't wait for me to speak. Zhu Bapi suddenly realized something. Interjected directly. "I understand. Ms. Huang occasionally hears coughing sounds. It must be these mother hedgehogs causing it." Huang Yun no longer knew what to say, caught between laughter and tears. Even hedgehogs can cough. A normal hedgehog does not cough. There is only one pregnant mother hedgehog, after being fed an excess of syrup. Only then will it emit a sound similar to an elderly person's cough. I hugged myself tightly. A half smile, half laugh spoke. "If you don't believe it, you can go back to the room and mix some honey water. Hey, let these female hedgehogs drink this. You should be able to hear a cough like that." Huang Yun immediately fell silent. "How do you know these?" I shrugged. indicate these bizarre tricks. Actually, it is not uncommon. The variables are gradually being eliminated by the times. I can't believe it's already the 21st century. Someone is still using it. Jubapi was slow to realize. He also smiled wryly while holding his forehead. Yes, such outdated scamming methods. How could I have not thought of that? Still, the little brother is more skilled. Young people think quickly. He gave me a thumbs up as he spoke. Huang Yun is indeed completely baffled. What are you all talking about? Ju Bapi coughed once. Said girl, why don't you understand yet? Actually, things are quite simple. Someone doesn't want you to live a comfortable life. So use blood to smear your front door, attracting bats to come knock at midnight. I secretly kept a hedgehog in your backyard. Occasional stomach sugar water. Create the feeling that there is an invisible person in your home. The illusion of coughing at midnight. Young people simply don't understand these ghostly tricks, unconsciously suspecting that the house is haunted. Over time, it's inevitable to become mentally exhausted, suspicious and paranoid. This person gets nervous. Illness can easily enter the body. Huan Yun hasn't been able to sleep for several days. Naturally, it leads to a state of confusion. My health has been deteriorating. Huan Yun finally turned around, startled, and exclaimed, "But who is so bored? Can't pull off such pranks." I snorted coldly. "I'm afraid it's not just a prank. This person has caused so much trouble. The goal is to make Huang Yun firmly believe that the house is haunted. He was scared. It's possible to move out and live on my own. If that time comes, someone proposed to buy the old house again. Huang Yun will naturally follow the course of events." Agreed. With my slight guidance, Huang Yun immediately understood. Exclaimed, "It was done by those demolition people." I said, "Although I can't be 100% sure. But it's likely to be this way. That's too much. This guy with the surname Zhao, he's just a jerk." Huang Yan was furious, his face flushed red. He chopped his feet fiercely. Ju Bapi then said with a smile, "Sister, this is just the beginning. This group involved in the demolition, to resolve the stubborn residents. What move can't be used? This is still considered polite. They didn't forcibly demolish your home. It's already quite good," Huang Yan angrily said. "They also have to hurry. My dad is the president of a large company." Torn face. Everyone is feeling bad. Then he said again, "No way. I can't let these people mock me for nothing. Lan Van, aren't you the gentleman? Can you help me come up with a solution? Make sure these people no longer dare to covet my family's old residence." I hesitated for a moment. There are ways to solve this. It's just that this method is rather strange. It's also quite troublesome to operate. Huang Yan immediately said, "It's okay. My family doesn't lack money. As long as you promise to help me, I can double the commission. I'll give you 50,000. How much?" I was momentarily stunned. Staring wide-eyed, they said, "What 50,000? Huang Yundao. The previously agreed extortion fee is 25,000. Now the situation is clear. Our home has never been visited by anything filthy. As long as you agree to help me drive away those demolition teams, I will double the reward. I won't talk any more." With a darkened face, turned to look at Chu Bapi. The old guy chuckled to himself, seeing my expression is off, turning around, ready to throw down the gauntlet. I quickly caught up. A hand grasped the back of his head. Curse loudly. "Chu Bapi, your dog really is dark enough." Mingaming agreed on the price with the client. "It's 25,000. But you tricked me into thinking I only had 4,000. Still repeatedly said, you need to share it with me equally. I can't even make a fraction of what you earn. You damn greedy merchant. This grandson is tightly protecting the back of his head, pleaded pitifully. Little brother, let's talk things over. Don't touch it. It's not easy for my brother either. This industry emphasizes 3 years without opening for business. Opening a business, eat for 3 years. I won't save up more for my wife. How to run such a big shop? The conditions were agreed upon in advance. You agreed to it all. Now, unfortunately, I regret it. Guests aren't supposed to be treated this way. Why do you get the big head? Layazi can only get 2,000. I'm so confused with anger. I still hold gratitude. Thought this fat man was acting out of goodwill. Just introduce the business to me. Now it seems like a girl. Chun Chun is treating me like a fool. All right, little brother. Come down first. At worst, it'll be a 50-50 this time. You take 6, I take 4. Just consider it a compensation from the older brother. How are you? Ju Bappy is unable to escape. Had no choice but to raise my hands in surrender. You are Huang Lao's disciple. From now on, the two of us. There are still many collaboration opportunities. There's no need for this. A small profit leads to a falling out. Brother guarantees. From now on, every transaction. Is everything clear and transparent with you? I angrily let go. This sounds like the language of giants. Huang Yun was already in a daze. Stunned for a long time. With a sorrowful expression, they said, Did I say something wrong? None of your business. Let's talk about the upcoming business. I pressed against Ju Bappy, not allowing him to speak, turned to Huang Yun and smiled. I can help you vent your frustrations. No problem. There are many ways to do it. Which one do you want to choose? Huang Yun thought for a moment, suddenly flicking her long hair. He let out a grunt. This manager with the surname Zhao almost scared me into a nervous breakdown. This time, he definitely won't get off easy. I will use his own methods against him. Still in the same body. Using their own methods. Still in his own body. This method is quite good. I nodded. Touching his chin, he said, This guy faked a ghost to deceive you. Now let's use the same method. Come tease him. It can be considered a tit for tat. However, at this point, I was taken aback. To pretend to be a ghost to deceive others. It's not that easy. I have no experience in this area at all. For a while, I still can't think of a suitable idea. Laughing, pretending to be a ghost to deceive others. This method is indeed good. It's just too small. The manager with the surname Zhao. So interested in the Huang family's old house. If it's just a minor scuffle, I'm afraid it may not dispel his thoughts. I asked Ju Bappy if he had any good ideas. He chuckled strangely. Since we're going to play, just give him a hard blow. Let the girl know. The Huang family is not so easy to bully. Let's do it this way. Then he whispered his sins into my ear. Spoke a few words quickly. I was instantly shocked. Everyone was astonished and speechless. You want to create a real ghost to scare people. What should we do if something goes wrong? As long as you know your limits. What could happen? Ju Bappy rolled his eyes. Talking about things like ghosts. In fact, it's far less terrifying than ordinary people imagine. After an ordinary person's death, even if I could turn into a ghost, only able to become a wandering spirit, leaning on a single obsession, to exist in this world, the ability to harm others is limited, truly harmful. All are fierce spirits and vengeful ghosts. That thing is not commonly seen. We need to catch this manager with the surname Zhao. Just need to find an ordinary heroic spirit. Just help me out. It can be scary. It shouldn't lead to too serious consequences. Only this way can we solve the problem once and for all. If we can't control the demolition team, it might not work out. The other party will come up with other dirty tricks. I do this. It can also save employers a lot of unnecessary trouble. Is it a win-win situation? I stroked my chin and said, "Your idea is quite good, but where are we going? Find a ghost to scare people." Zhu Bapi raised his eyebrows and made a face. "Little brother, have you forgotten what I'm here for? I told you I'm a famous merchant. I want to find a fog in England. It's really too simple. As long as you are willing to help, it can be done anytime. I won't speak any more." She turned her head back to look at Huang Yun. Seeing Huang Yun nod again, after expressing approval, this is when they finally agreed to Zhu Bapi's plan. Zhu Bapi's mouth curled up at the corners. Indicate the need to take action immediately. I will stay here, according to the instructions of this unscrupulous merchant. Accompany Huang Yun to make a phone call. Initiate contact with the real estate manager, Zhao Jingli. After the call is connected, Huang Yun immediately got straight to the point. "I would like to discuss matters regarding the demolition compensation." The other party saw Huang Yun let out a sigh, suddenly filled with excitement. "Immediately agree to meet. Put down the phone." I reminded Huang Yun once again. "Tell him to meet with Manager Zhao afterwards." "What specifically should I say?" Huang Yun winked at me. He smiled slyly. "Don't worry. I know how to do it." Half an hour later, the doorbell of the villa rang. A shadow with a rat-like head walked in. It was Manager Zhao, who visited yesterday. The guy put on a smile as soon as he entered the room. "Say to Huang Yun, I said so. Miss Huan, you're alone guarding such a large old house. It's really not convenient to live here. It's better to sell the ancestral home to our company for development as soon as possible. As a return, we will also give you a generous amount of relocation compensation." Before he finished speaking, Huang Yun interrupted the other party as I requested. "Speaking seriously, the compensation amount you offered is too low. Although 3 generations have lived in this house, the location is quite good. That amount from the relocation compensation is not worth selling my ancestral property." Manager Zhao chuckled. Gan Zhao said, "How much do you want?" Huang Yun may look young, but the way he negotiates is very intimidating. Waved his hand dismissively. A sky-high amount was revealed. As expected, Manager Zhao's expression instantly fell. "Stand up and shake your head, saying it's not possible. This quote is outrageous. Don't say it's me. Even my boss behind me can't bear it." Huang Yun sat with an indifferent expression, crossing his legs. "Just say whatever you like, even if you can afford the price. It may not necessarily mean that the house will be acquired. First of all, my family is not short of money. This was my grandfather's favorite place during his lifetime. He often visits me in my dreams after his death. The old house must never fall into the hands of outsiders. Otherwise, it will cause trouble for the other party." Manager Zhao was taken aback. What does Huang Yun mean by rhetorical questioning? Huang Yun immediately pretended to be mysterious, looked around the room unnaturally, deliberately lowering the voice. "To be honest with you, after my grandfather passed away, the soul has never left. He especially loved this house during his lifetime. I often lean against the spot where you are sitting now. drinking tea and reading the newspaper, when you came to talk to me about the house demolition. Actually, I am already a bit moved. That night I was visited by my grandfather in a dream. I was warned never to sell the house." Manager Zhao's expression was unnatural from what he said, shifted to the side a bit. Dan laughed and said, "Miss Hewing really knows how to joke. The old man has been dead for 2 or 3 years. It will stop you from selling the house." Hewing Yun deliberately said, "This is hard to say for sure. Recently, I woke up in the middle of the night. I keep hearing someone knocking at the door outside. The dog at home keeps barking at the front door. I can still hear my grandfather's cough coming from behind the old house. Perhaps these are all my grandfather's warnings. But those are all. All are." Manager Zhao's expression became even more awkward. He certainly knows what the situation is about, but did not dare to speak the truth. "I thought my actions had backfired." Immediately stood up and said, "Our company is determined to acquire this piece of land. Miss Hewing should really stop insisting. Since you haven't figured it out for now, then I'll come back next time." After saying that, this guy turned to leave. Yuen Yan pretended to stand up to see him off. I strode in robustly through the door. As I brushed past Manager Zhao, pretend to bump into him with open arms. At the same time, quickly pluck one of his hairs. Manager Zhao felt the pain. "Touch your back head and look at me. Who are you? Why do I always appear at Miss Hewing's house?" Hewing Yan explained, "This is my cousin. He also does not approve of me selling the house. Recently, I always dream about my grandfather. I just invited him to my house to keep me company." Manager Zhao didn't say anything. He a smile, continued to stride away. I turned my back, looking at the hair just pulled from this old man's forehead. The corners of his mouth slightly lifted. A trace of smudness emerged. The hair is already in hand. Next, let's see when Jubapi will arrive. Can you bring the parrot? 2 hours have passed again. Footsteps were heard again outside. Yuen Yan and I stood up at the same time. Giant Jubapi was holding a black wooden box. It looks a bit like a funeral home's urn. A small figure walked towards the villa. I immediately approached and said, "How are you, old Ju? Has the stuff been brought over? You can trust me to handle this. The things are in the box." Jubapi chuckled. "Remind Hewing Yun to hurry and close the curtains." After the sunlight in the room faded away, this happened right in front of me. The box was placed on the coffee table, and gently opened the lid of the wooden box. Opened the lid. Inside is a toe bone of an adult. The flesh has long rotted. Ba looked quite creepy. Hewing Yun immediately screamed in fear. "Where did you get this from? This thing is so realistic." Ju Bappy shook his head and swayed. Said with a strange smile, "Of course it's realistic. This is the real deal. I can't believe the dried fingers in the box are real." Hewing Yun was instantly frightened, turning pale. I don't even dare to speak. I blocked his line of sight. "Why don't you go find a hotel outside to stay? Once we get things sorted out, I'll notify you to come back again." Hewing Yun looked at me nervously. He glanced at the half-dried finger in the box, even though I was very scared inside. Pulling at the scalp, shaking the head. "Say, forget it then. I want to see it with my own eyes. How do you operate? This woman is really bold. I secretly feel proud of my weight." Not saying anything, Ju Bappy asked about the origin of the things in the box. Ju Bappy told me, "Say this, femme. It was taken from the body of an old man. This old man is also suffering because his home was forcibly demolished. Can't breathe. then climbed onto the dump truck, arguing with the demolition team. Who would have thought that one would accidentally fall off the dumper? Can't land on the ground. Passed away. He harbored resentment after his death. The contractor who forcefully demolished his own house. Huo is really struggling. In the end, the other party requested help from dozens of people. Finally managed to calm the resentment of the deceased. Afterward, the sorcerer kept the old man's little finger, utilizing the golden spell for empowerment. I made this parrot. Later, several pounds changed hands. Finally fell into my hands. After listening to Zhu Bapi's introduction of the parrot, I immediately frowned and said, "Why are you collecting these things? Don't worry about the owner of this finger causing you trouble." Zhu Bapi smiled nonchalantly, pointing at the red thread tied to the box. "Don't be afraid of it. The mage has already enchanted the wooden box with a tree spell. The old man's restless spirit is trapped inside and cannot escape. As long as the seal on this box is not broken, everything will be fine." I pursed my lips. "Even so, this thing stays at home. It still inevitably makes one feel quite anxious. Why are you collecting these things for no reason?" He put on a look of someone who is judging a beggar. Man Taio Si Lai said, "Little brother, although the parrot is quite eerie, but as long as it is used properly, it can still play a significant role, including some folk sorcerers. Setting up a formation also requires the support of parrots. Only by harnessing the parrot's magic to enhance the effect of the tree curse. It's surprising you've been by Mr. Huang's side for so long. How can you not understand such a simple truth? The inventor. He dabbles in any business related to supernatural entities. I often interact with folk magicians. It's quite normal to keep parrots at home." I rolled my eyes and said, "All right, I can't argue with you. Since the items are in hand, then let's start our actions tonight. This matter can't be delayed any longer." I asked Huang Yan to help me tidy up a room. "Let's just not sleep at all tonight. Just install a camera directly on his second-floor balcony. Connect the computer to the tablet. Surround the entire villa with surveillance." I walked into a small room. First, place the parrot box on the altar. Light the incense candles. Prepare the offerings again, waiting for the target to come to me. It's still early before dark. Manager Zhao did not take action. I sat cross-legged on the ground waiting for news. Huang Yun carefully brought a cup of water. A timid appearance. The gaze was both fearful and filled with curiosity. He pointed to the parrot placed on the offering table and said, "Is there really a ghost inside this box?" I nodded. "Say yes," and began to explain the principles behind it to him. There are 3 souls and 7 spirits within the human body. The 7 souls will dissipate over time after death. The 3 souls will be preserved. This is commonly referred to as a ghost. Most ghosts